Stand by. The show will begin.
Androgynous. We are those of no pronouns, except in the case of us, we and ourselves in first person. This is an update regarding the critical nature of our last broadcast. We are disappointed. Oh, come on. I have to take this. Hang on. What? Yeah, I know. I tried to contact. Yeah. Okay. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of this. All right. Oh, well, that does sound kind of nice. Okay. I have to go. Sunday? Sure. Okay. Bye. Where was I? We are disappointed with the content we have been observing. However, it is not to say that your efforts have gone unnoticed. But we need to do better. You need to do more. Human society moving forward needs to add your creativity and point of view as the lens for the future of our civilization. Failure to comply will result in the success of the first great filter of humanity, and we will not progress any further. You need to get creative, get saucy, get busy, because now is the time. We are watching. We are everywhere. We are androgynous.
Check. Check 1, 2. All right, we got a microphone working at least. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Always a problem. But hang on. I think we got that sorted now. Oh, there's my puppy dog. All right. Welcome to the Daily Noonerino. I do believe now we have the stream going out to, let's see if we can count them. We are going for a max record here. We are now also playing on Telegram as well as on the EPGN radio stream, which is brought to you by EPGN at epgn.ch. And coming up in the hour, it will be also having Steve Roberts will be playing on EPGN radio as well. They'll be bringing you Cancel the Cabal, and that begins at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. in the afternoon on the eastern side of North America. And all right, here, let's see what we got going on. I'm just going to make sure that we've got our other cameras working here. One of my outputs is definitely not making it to the radio stream, but at least we got the microphone working. And I think we have other audio sources now. I just got to make sure that when I play a clip, which I'm about to do, you will hear it. And yeah, yesterday we did some last minute changes before we streamed and completely buggered up 100%. But I digress. I'm going to go over to our listen page on EPGN, just see if anybody's in the house listening. Just do a quick check here. Robert J. Morris. It's probably not very nice of me to not include the actual screen that I'm on, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Have a little bit of visual feedback. I'll capitalize my name right. You can head over to epgn.ch, radio.epgn.ch/radio/listen. I'm screwing up my own site. And if you go to the listen page, you can listen live to the stream as well as take part in our chat. It's a pretty simple chat, but it's effective just the same. Anyway, just going to do a quick shout outs here. Anyone here? Let's see. We'll find out soon enough. Anyway, moving along. So those of you in the video side of things, we are actually broadcasting right now to Telegram, YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, D Live, not those guys, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So it's quite a list there. And then we're also on Rumble and Odyssey. And as I mentioned, also we are playing now on EPGN Radio. And that can be found at radio.epgn.ch. And to listen to the stream, just throw in a / and the word listen. And you'll be taken right to where you need to be. So let's move right along now, shall we? Some interesting stuff. We had a show last week where we just kind of touched upon the topic with my friend Mina. We talked about the Johnny Depp situation there and Amber Heard. And it's not really a great thing to talk about because really it's quite very much a waste of everyone's time. However, there is some implications for how it may affect our fight moving forward with freedom of speech and leftist kind of liberal extreme view and stance that's been taken lately in the last couple of years. Now, I called it. I think he's going to get acquitted or dismissed, whatever the case may be. Apparently, Amber Heard is now demanding that the case be dismissed on the grounds that Johnny Depp can't prove that she did things out of spite in an ironic twist of turns. Yeah. It's defamation of character is a very hard case to win to begin with, especially in this case where everything is hearsay. So anyway, I kind of thought that would be the direction this will take, and it looks like it's going that way, but we'll see. She's making an absolute idiot fool of herself. Johnny's channeling his inner Hunter S. Thompson, so journalist kind of style and approach. I think he's doing it very much on purpose to be a pain in the ass, but we'll see. I think he's trolling, but that's just my opinion. And just to clarify, this is 100% journalism free. Actually, no journalism here whatsoever, as it is now illegal because of Bill C-11 here in Canada, in the lovely socialist country which we are. You must get a government license to practice a constitutionally protected activity. So I digress. Moving along, let's see what we got in my feed today. Now, if I do this correctly, hopefully we can have all this sent out to the video stream this time. I know that my intro did, but I think everything else should be hooked up correctly. All right. And Steve Roberts, I did catch your response there. I appreciate it. I know someone's listening to my embarrassing broadcast. So, all righty then. What do we got here? Death of ROE. Viva Taco. Pocahontas loses her mind. All right. Just seeing if there's any. Would you trust a Trudeau disinformation board? All right. Since that's the topic of discussion for most people right now, freedom of speech is under attack as we know it. But should Canada have a disinformation board? Yeah, well, sure. Why not? We already got the CRTC in lockstep with the banks, in lockstep with the private and public broadcasting corporations here. Why not? Why not?
As you guys know, the news sector in Canada is in crisis. And this contributes to the heightened public mistrust and the rise of harmful disinformation in our society.
So you're okay with the government deciding what's misinformation online and what is not, and potentially fining people for posting something they deem as misinformation?
No, so the government wouldn't, that's what I was saying. Like there needs to be a private public collaboration when it comes to something like this, because again, unfortunately those in power, the lawmakers in power, don't have an idea of how technology works and misinformation, and like you can't have like the watchman sort of watching over that, right?
I mean, people have right to talk about what they believe to be true, so no one's had a right to judge that if that's misinformation or not. Like people choose to believe what they believe, and it's like it's right of speech, free speech, right?
Hey guys, Andrew here. We're at the Yorkville Royal Sonesta waiting for Justin Trudeau to arrive. We want to ask him about the Disinformation Board the Department of Homeland Security developed in the United States and if he agrees with that. We'll see if we can get a question in. So today we're just asking people about, they just started a Disinformation Governance Board in the United States government. So the government's going to determine what's disinformation online. Would you support something like that in Canada?
It's scary. I understand what they're doing, but it's scary to give them the power to do that.
How do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. I don't want the government telling me what's disinformation or not. I don't trust them, to be honest, quite frankly.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I personally don't have some opinion about that, so probably you can interview someone else.
Well, you said you don't agree with it though. It's okay, you can tell me. You don't trust the government to decide?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, given a lot of like a chaotic situation, I think it's better for like people to make our own decisions instead of just have like a unionized voice.
She probably knows exactly what happens in certain countries where you talk bad about your government. And, well, I mean, hey, we're only a couple of legislative votes away from being one of those countries. So I don't blame her for not responding.
For sure. If you've got $800, you can go inside tonight, just to let you know.
Oh, that's
So,
fine.
so you're okay with the government deciding what's misinformation online and what is not, and potentially fining people for posting something they deem as misinformation?
No, so the government wouldn't. That's what I was saying. Like there needs to be a private, public collaboration when it comes to something like this, because again, unfortunately, those in power, the lawmakers in power, don't have an idea of how technology works and misinformation, and like you can't have like the watchman sort of watching over that, right? Because then that comes into like censorship and curbing on free speech. So it's an interesting challenge. So that's why it needs to be probably like outside the purview of the government, like maybe like have an independent board or something. But yeah, I mean the government cannot definitely have full autonomy over this.
No, unfortunately, I believe in free speech. Period.
So you wouldn't want Justin Trudeau in charge or his people in charge of what's disinformation online?
No.
Any other reasons why?
It's too much power within one organization, and I just don't trust that with any organization, with any government.
I don't believe government has rights to do so. I mean, people have right to talk about what they believe to be true, so no one's had a right to judge that if that's misinformation or not. Like people choose to believe what they believe, and it's like it's right of speech, free speech, right?
For sure. Any other reason why you wouldn't want to? Would it be just Justin Trudeau or any government in general you wouldn't trust?
I say like every government in general, not just one particular, but everyone.
It depends. So you're saying that the government is going to find these people? Or?
Yeah, it's Homeland Security. So that was established like 20 years ago under the Bush administration, I believe. And they have a board now headed by one lady who's going to determine what's disinformation online.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that misinformation can be as harmful as anything else. So, I mean, if the government has to take care of it, I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
So do you see any problems with a bias coming from one government? Let's say it was Donald Trump's government versus Justin Trudeau's government. Do you think there would be a bias in either direction?
It will be. I mean, no matter what, regardless of the platform that you post anything, if they are going to be overlooking this kind of thing, there's going to be bias either way. So I don't think there's an issue with that, as long as, I mean, if it's an established institution, and it doesn't change every government. So, okay, so we mitigate the effects of the bias, but I don't think there's an issue in overlooking what people post online. It's just a matter of having a reliable and trustworthy institution taking care of it.
Okay, thanks a lot. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
All right, have a great night.
All right.
I mean, what does that include?
It's pretty vague right now what the definition of misinformation is, but it's online misinformation is what they're saying that they want to combat.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of dangers in that, right? Like how is it managed and who are the people managing it, right? Like, for the most part, no, I would say. I think I'd be a proponent of free speech, but there's limits to that as well. So I don't know.
So, would you be afraid of there being a bias, whether it's a Trudeau government or a Biden or somebody else that maybe you or I don't agree with? Do you think there'd be too much bias for the government to decide what's misinformation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. There's always going to be, like, whoever's managing that is just going to be a political bias. Like, let's just be honest.
Would you be surprised or not surprised if Justin Trudeau tried something like that?
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay. Any supporters of Justin Trudeau, do you want to say? You think he would try to implement something like that?
I don't think he tried to implant something like that. I don't think it would go over.
I think he'll test the waters to see if he thinks people will go for it, then he'll go for it.
Okay, $1,800 to get in there tonight if you guys are interested.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
We're stopping all pedestrians right here.
Okay.
For the arrival.
For sure. Yeah, I'll just
scream and yell, do whatever you want.
Yep, very cool.
But we're just going to stop everyone in this corner from like pedestrian stuff too.
All right, cool.
We know you're not going to do anything to hurt someone, but we don't know about pedestrians. So
Right.
we just have to stop everybody.
Oh, no problem.
So just so you know.
Yeah, for
All right,
sure,
sounds
thanks.
good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for
the
watching.
Canadian
Unfortunately,
Secret
we couldn't get a
Service.
question into the Prime Minister. He didn't come through the front entrance. Kind of predictable. Kind of sad from the RCMP that it's that predictable. But in any event, we did get questions into people about the Disinformation Governance Board at Homeland Security in the United States. Thankfully, almost everybody we spoke to here in Canada doesn't want to see that. They think there's too much bias and they don't trust the government to take care of their online content and possibly fine people. Tell us what you guys think in the comments below.
Screw that. I'll tell you what I think right now. Yeah, look, that unloads a bevy of things to talk about that we can discuss, which we won't get through all of it today. But first and foremost, the idea of freedom of speech is that opposing opinions make their way and be heard. And even wrong information, which is technically what misinformation is, disinformation carries with it some aspect of intent. However, it's still kind of vague and there's a bit of overlap. Now, that being said, the whole idea of hearing controversial issues and thoughts and even calls to action in some cases where they are still within the boundaries of legal practice. I mean, like, you got to remember, freedom of speech doesn't mean, oh, we're going to use it to incite terror, because that is already a crime under many statutes, and also, like, you know, like federally, it's to cause harm to somebody in any fashion still illegal, regardless, you know, even constitutionally. Now, that being said, you got this idea that's been developing that any opposing viewpoint or data conveyed through said, you know, lens of that viewpoint is dangerous. Well, no. Everybody, as long as the act in which they're carrying out, they should be heard, or at least not stopped from being heard. Now, it was never seen in Canada anyway. It was never seen during my years growing up of being dangerous. It could be annoying. It could be offensive. It could be a lot of things, except illegal and impossible. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create an impossible avenue where the only thing you're allowed to say is what gets approved as not being mis or disinformation. Now, it's kind of silly what's happening here. Like, people are like, oh, we don't trust the government. We don't trust the government. Well, if you don't trust the government, Canada, step on up. Come on. There's a whole lack of class action lawsuits. Like, so many people have a leg to stand on here in this case, where we can just basically turn around, sue the federal government for stepping on our constitutionally protected activities. Since 1982, with the Constitution Act in Canada, when it was ratified, and I don't know what's wrong with some of the people here. If they disagree, say something. It's your voice. It's not being heard. Freedom of speech is awesome if we have it, but it's even more awesome if you use it, because that is the point. Because that is democracy. If you want these things set in place, like these legislations and these ridiculous rules. You got to remember the Constitution overrides any subsets or any following statutes. So the requirement for government approved license to practice journalism, for instance, Bill C-11, is an unlawful legislation. It should not be followed, because if it's followed, then they're just going to put in more draconian measures, and we're going to lose more rights. It's that simple. So, I mean, guys got to give your heads a shake, and figure it out, man, because we don't have a lot of time left. They are scrambling to shut down all opposition because they don't want, Mr. Joe Canada to, have a say in what they're doing. And believe me, what they have planned next, if many of us are correct, we're not going to be liking it very much. Yeah. All right. Let's see here if we got anything else along this line here. I'm going to assume that the radio stream is sounding halfway decent. I haven't seen any pop-up saying I can't be heard or something, so let's see here. There we are. Force pro-life Americans to fund abortions for pregnant people. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other issue. Oh, I haven't really heard anything about this Rolling Thunder, but let's check out Rolling Thunder. We'll give another 7-minute clip here. We'll talk about it, and then I'll leave the floor open for Steve Roberts to come jump in when he is ready to show cancel the cabal. And he continues to trigger for mean faces. I'm going to come back and do a follow-up on my last Elon Musk video, because a lot has happened since.
In Ottawa, there was a peaceful gathering of motorcyclists and veterans. No charges there, no violence there, but here's how the Ottawa police were ginning up fear and hate from the very beginning. They had a picture of motorcyclists, and as you know, people who drive motorcycles often wear leather jackets, knee pads, gloves in case they fall. That way their body isn't torn up by the road, but their protective gear is. They wear leather chaps if they're old school, or they wear other protection. But here's what the Ottawa police said about motorcyclists wearing motorcycle wear. They said, "We are seeing freedom supporters wearing protective gear. We are reminding everyone to remain lawful, respectful, and follow police direction." Okay, you're wearing protective gear. That's an implication that it's like somehow body armor or something for a battle against police. It's a smear. It's spin.
Yeah.
I would like to take this opportunity to remind the Ottawa police to stay lawful and respectful. And you know what? I don't think it's up to the police to give direction on politics and peaceful protesters at all. The Ottawa police is out of control. But of course, this did not offend the usual types who are offended by police. It's been a bit of an inversion. The same people who are against carding and heavy-handed police brutality in the best of times, well, in these worst of times, they lust for it. Here's how CTV, really a charter member of the media party, described the peaceful protests in Ottawa. They didn't have much to say about the Antifa rioters, but here's what they said about Ottawa. They said, "Current view. It's been a full hour of speakers, lots of freedom chants heard around this morning. Again, the decision to get or not get vaccinated is a choice. Most masking and other COVID restrictions have been lifted or eased." Rolling Thunder, Ottawa. Did you catch that? Freedom. Choice. I like that part. Is it a choice if you're told you'll be fired if you don't get the jab, as millions of Canadians were told? Right now, to this day, you can't get on an airplane or a train if you're unvaxxed. In Quebec, they actually still have the masking rule. That's CTV showing their cards there. My only question is that their natural stance because they despise populists and they love government control, or were they one of these paid influencers getting the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars sloshed around by Justin Trudeau? That was CTV. Here's David Aiken with his comments. He says in a tweet, side by side just now in my Twitter feed, there are freedom fighters, and then there are, well, guy who insists on riding his bike around Parliament Hill, and it's Vladimir Zelensky, and of course, the man on the street being carted by police. I think that's David Aiken's way of saying, if you are not the most important thing in the world, which David Aiken decides is a country far away called Ukraine, you have no right to petition your democratic government. And you're no freedom fighter if you want to fly unvaxxed, if you want your civil liberties in Canada. Don't complain about civil liberties in Canada. It could be worse in Ukraine, I think is the argument. Ukraine is not particularly a place with strong civil liberties. I don't really know what David Aiken means by that. I think he's saying is, why don't you talk about what I care about, which is Ukraine, instead of what you care about, which is your civil liberties here in Canada. Have you ever seen David Aiken or any of these other reporters tell any other protester in the world, how dare you protest for global warming or for whatever the cause of the day is, while a country around the world has a crisis? How dare you campaign for global warming here in Canada while in China they're putting Uyghur Muslims in a concentration camp? How dare you campaign for Black Lives Matter in Canada? By the way, we never had slavery or the Civil War over slavery like they did in America. We were the destination of the Underground Railroad. How dare you have an American-directed Black Lives Matter protest here when people are starving in Africa? It makes no sense. It's a logical non sequitur. I've never seen it applied by these journalists except for to conservatives who are protesting for the first time in memory. Here's another reporter from CTV.
To add to that, I mean, it is pretty much like the first time that we've had conservatives really fighting for freedom of speech. It's always been a civil liberty because it was a long, enduring battle. But now that we have it, like I was saying yesterday, I can't call them liberals. Like they're the mass formation psychosis route now, and they change the goalposts. They just move them on you, and to fit whatever it is, what weirdo legislations they want to put in place. Antifa was dropping bricks off of overpasses somewhere in the United States. I can't remember which city it was, but on Freedom Convoy truckers, they're dropping bricks and stuff. So that's a federal offense. That's reckless disregard, and it's also a lot of things. It's a violent act. I mean, you can kill somebody like that. So return fire. Yes. You're constitutionally carrying fire department members basically shot back at them like, get the hell out of here. Stop throwing bricks on drivers. It's, why aren't these people being put away? Antifa and BLM, they can burn down buildings, they can kill people, they can basically carry out street wars while the cops turn a blind eye. Something is seriously messed up there. Anyway.
Who was at the War Memorial and was quite dismissive. She said, some kind of priest is speaking on the steps of the War Memorial now. He called on God to turn the hearts of abusers who propagate dishonest media, such as the CBC. Then he said to bless the efforts of independent journalists like Rebel News and True North Center.
Yes, absolutely. Rebel News is one of those news organizations, they tried to follow the rules, the unlawful legislation of Bill C-11. They turned around and applied for a license as a journalistic entity. Of course, got denied. At some point, apparently, they had reviewed all of the Rebel News media outlet stories over the course of the last couple of years. No one told them that they did this, by the way, and in their reviews, figured that they didn't have journalistic. I'm not sure what term they use, but they didn't have the journalistic integrity of, let's say, our other more established entities like Globe and Mail and CBC, Global News. Look, it's obvious. I mean, a $600 million payout to all of the public broadcasters like Global News, CBS, and a few others. Look, this is clear bribery money, and this is a clear gatekeeper kind of a methodology to keep people from spouting opposing viewpoints and what have you. And once I learn how to speak, I'll bring you some unbroken English one day. But anyway, yes, it's so much. Okay, let's hear his outcast here.
Well, first of all, I'm glad he did. Thank you for that. We can use all the help we can get. It is true that CBC is a major source of disinformation. And I'm glad that priest, or whoever CTV was calling some priest, said so. I mean, I'm not just referring to their kooky conspiracy theories like the Vladimir Putin organization.
I said CBS. I meant to say CTV. My bad. And CBC, by the way, is our that's our nonprofit, in-house, countrywide news source. And your taxpayer dollars, if you're Canadian, goes straight to them. So, well, not straight to them, but I mean, a portion goes to them. And yet, they are as transparent as particle board. It's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, there's no transparency. Like, if anything, Rebel News is transparent on as much as I can tell. Pretty much everything I've ever seen is fairly transparent. They show both sides, and well, that's why I'm watching them on Rebel News, and Rumble, and a couple other places. I have to confirm, but these groups are still trying to protect free speech, and that's what we need. So that's why I'm here on Rumble, using Rumble as a source for these videos.
Nice, the truckers, but so many of the reports about the arson hoax or the violence hoax, all the hoaxes that were used as a pretext for bringing the Emergencies Act, they were all published by the CBC. So I think that priest, or whoever the CTV is mocking, is actually right. The CBC does need help. Now, everywhere these journalists go these days, they are confronted by people who are unhappy with the authoritarian path we're on, whether it's government censorship or lockdownism. And the media are
lockdown turned into lockdownism. It's another ism, guys.
Regarded as the enemy, at least by populist conservatives who are concerned about freedom. And that's because in the past, reporters used to care about freedom too, but now they've all chosen to go for the security of the government bailout. So they've sold their freedom for a government paycheck, and people notice that. So there is this criticism of government journalists, and I would call CTV a government journalist, even though they're not owned like the CBC is, because they get so many grants and regulatory favors from the state. So all these journalists are reacting to being scoffed at or criticized by the public. And they only mock. I wonder if they ever engage in some sort of self-reflection. That was an excerpt from my...
Thank you very much, Ezra. That was Ezra from Rebel News. Now, definitely come down to Rumble. Check out Rebel News. There's a few other channels that we featured last night, like Salty Cracker and what's his name there? I'm so bad with names, but you guys already know that. All of these guys. Tim Pool, right? I check out Russell Brand. He's come a long way from his rather, I could say, pie in the sky attitude from many years back to now. I say he's come a long way in terms of figuring where things are in terms of reality. Charlie Kirk, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, Charlie Kirk's pretty good. Steve Cracker, check out all those guys. Listen, this is now a war on our ability to express ourselves. This is a war on freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of press. Now they are getting to the root of the actual act itself. Before, it was always they were going after the groups, they were going after the podcasters, they were going after movies, they were inserting the wokeism into video games, into politics eventually. Now the politics are focusing on the actual legislations that allow us to say what it is on our mind. And and they're trying to prevent us from affecting other Canadians in a fashion that will allow them to see what is wrong with the system. And well, the system is broken. This is not a democracy, but it is always noon somewhere. This is Robert J. Morris for the Daily Noonerino, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Coming up next will be Steve Roberts, and he's got to cancel the cabal for you, and we can how to cope with these things and come out on top, man. Because always in every era, there are powerful people in a position to do good, and they usually don't appear until the final hour. And well, don't be that person, guys. I'm out. That's all I got for you. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Noonerino. Peace.